Yes, well, thank you for joining me. I'm in my office at the moment. I'm Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Um, I wanted to share my experience with mothers in relationships, my relationship with some mothers that have been in covert emotional incestual situations with their sons, the damage that it can do, the signs that will warn you of what's happening, and the way in which you can protect yourself from the possibilities of being harmed from this horrible form of abuse. Now, the first thing I can say to you is covert emotional incest is covered by the fact that it is covert. It doesn't want to be exposed. It doesn't want to be found or seen. It's one of these things where the longer it can be hidden from you, the further you will be entrenched into the relationship with one of these people. Now, for the most part, these people don't understand what is going on between them. They believe that it's love, normal love, the way in which love should work. They don't understand that it's gone beyond the maternal boundaries that protect the parent and the child from enmeshment. It's usually, but not always, a result of a partner leaving a relationship. More often than not, it can happen within a marriage where the husband and the wife drift so far apart that the children become the emotional source of input. The parent relies on the child as their source and supply of emotional need, where the two parents have separated to the point where their emotional needs are not met due to resentments, bitternesses, and unresolved issues that have turned the relationship dysfunctional. But the two people have decided to stay together more often than not, and you hear this a lot, that couples sleep in different bedrooms, in different beds, but they remain together for the children, apparently. Covert emotional incest is impacting. It's devastating, and it's very hard to recognize. It comes in under the disguise of, this is just the way I love my child. This is just the way I love my son or daughter. This is the way I love my mother or my father. It can work in all different combinations. It can be son to father. It can be mother to daughter. It can be mother to father. Not mother to father, sorry. It can be daughter to father and son to mother. My personal experiences with this have been in relationships where I've been with the mother, watching the way in which they express themselves with the sons. When I didn't know about covert emotional incest, I was taking myself away to check if I was jealous of these children, but I had no reason to be jealous of these children, in the sense that I was a grown man and these were the children of these women, and there was no reason by which I needed to be jealous or wanted to be jealous. I wanted these children to grow and flourish, but my concern in the relationship between the mother and the child was interpreted to be jealous. And that within itself was a form of abuse, because I'd be constantly checking myself to see if that was what was going on. But I'm a very secure man. I'm not jealous of other men. So I'm not sure where jealousy, there is a jealousy between a third person in a relationship, an outsider that's not DNA with the child or the parent, that can get jealous. This happens a lot with stepmothers and things. It can happen, but in my case, no, it wasn't what was going on. I'd had enough experiences in relationships. I knew exactly what I was dealing with and where I stood and where she stood. But covert emotional incest is outside of the normal boundaries. What you'll find is that when you come into one of these environments, you're going to meet a woman who is hungry for a man. She's one way or another ended up in a situation where she needs the companionship of a man. The covert emotional incest relationship between her and her son is already established. Could be her daughter, but in my case it was sons. It's already established. Now, the level of which this covert emotional incest is outplaying is hidden. You'll get the hello from the children. You'll get the, this is who I am. Oh, hello, I'm seeing this man now. And you go on with the relationship. She tends to the needs that she has and wants to have fulfilled from the man. Now, as time goes by and things get familiar and her soul and needs, feminine needs for masculinity, begin to be satiated or satisfied, what the woman will do is begin to default back into where she's most comfortable. And this sabotages any progression, any growth in the relationship that you're trying to build, because the person now is keeping you interested enough to think that things are moving forward. But deep in her emotions, her bond is with the child or the young man. It can be a young man. It can be a man of 30, 40. Anywhere, I've seen them from 10 up to 27. But what they'll do, they'll camouflage their covert desire for the child, the addiction that they've created in their emotions for the attention from the child, from you. So I call this splitting in the sense of she wants the man but is bonded to the child. And what it causes is a sabotage of partner bonding. The woman cannot quite bond to the man beyond the strength of the bond that she has created with the child. So she splits herself. But it's like an elastic band. It's a splitting that gets pulled back to where she's most comfortable in the DNA relationship with the child. Now, this doesn't always happen, and they can hold that tension at the start relative to their, we've got to, oh, sorry. Yes. No. Okay, bye. Sorry, I had to take that call. It was the police. Anyway. All right. So they'll hold the tension because there's a tension. When they pull away from the covert emotional incestual bond, right, the bond won't let go. So there's a tension, and the mother's getting her masculine needs met. And once they're met, the tension snaps back emotionally to the child or the young adult male. So they're trying to split, but they can't cut the tie that they have, the emotional DNA tie, maternal tie that they have with the child, the young man. They've created the young man to be their partner. Now, this is just the mother. You've got to consider what's happening to the young man. I've seen the confusion and the emotional upturn that goes on within these men. It's not a form of, I love my mother and I'm your child. It's more primitive than that. It's more dysfunctional than that. It's an aggressive, infantile disreveling of the emotions that abandons any fear of exposure and fiercely and desperately comes after the mother to break the bond, any chance of a bond being created with the man. Now, I've seen a 10-year-old boy pin a woman against a wall by the throat. I've seen a 16-year-old son hop into bed with me and his mother, not with any sexual intention, but to make a statement. I've seen young adult men say to their mothers, "You're neglecting me because of him," and deteriorate into profound infantile behavior due to the power and strength and depth of the covert emotional incestual bond. Now, that's a little insight into how strong the bond is when these people try and pull away. Now, there's a whole different aspect when you're looking at the son with the mother trying to pull away, but they can't. They snap back to the enmeshment. The enmeshment won't let them go. They're trying to go, and they can't hold a relationship outside of this enmeshment because the DNA factor of it is too strong for them to hang on to the outsider long enough to get out of the enmeshment, and they snap back into the covert emotional incestual relationship. Now, what that means is it sabotages, covert emotional incest sabotages any chance of longevity for the parent or the child, of having any chance of longevity, a healthy relationship will not be sustainable, because the covert emotional incestual relationship will sabotage it. It will pull them away, and you will sit there and you'll feel like you're a spectator watching. As a matter of fact, you'll feel like these people are having an affair, and they are having an affair. They're having an emotional affair. And I've said to two of these women, I've said, who are you emotionally attached to? You're coming for my masculinity and what I can provide as a man, but you're disappearing emotionally. I'm getting no emotional feed from you. I don't even know where you are half the time, but they're spending their emotional energies and outputs and inputs are being exchanged for the parent and the child. Now, it doesn't matter how hard you try and explain yourself, how much you try and express yourself. It doesn't matter how desperate you try and make the situation seem. You will not be able to break the enmeshment bond, the loyalty, you cannot, the two people in this relationship cannot be disloyal to one another, because that's then is an undermining, a complete and total undermining, like a building being blown up at the bottom and collapsing of their identity. the family identity, the DNA identity. You will not break the bond of a parent and a child who are in covert emotional incest. You'll be a spectator, and you'll have to find a way to be able to tolerate what you're watching. I've said to another woman, I said, oh, my goodness, I have to bring this to your attention. This boy would come into the kitchen and she'd sit up. She'd sit up like this, and she'd get up and she'd start running around and tending after him. I'd be sitting there as a visitor and I'd be watching it and I'd be going, well, if I didn't know what this was, I'd be quite alarmed. And she used to gaze into this boy's eyes and he'd capture her attention, and she just they had each other groomed emotionally in a way in which they were feeding and supplying each other, not in a normal exchanges. There was different forms of lusts and antagonisms and all these negative sarcasms and things taking place as in a way of making it look all joyful and as normal communication, but it wasn't. You'll see the mother calling the child babe or gorgeous or angel. I'm talking about men. You'll tell them how handsome, you'll hear them telling them how handsome they are in an untimely way, how wonderful they are, when they're not. They're just normal people trying to find their way, but they're grandized. They're put on a pedestal to ensure that the bond is protected. Because when you're a person in a relationship with one of these people, be it the girlfriend of the son or the boyfriend of the mother, you are an outsider. You will not get past the bond. They'll stretch off, but it'll snap back. But they'll come off far enough to, say, for instance, just get you in like that. They'll get you in. But when they're ready, they drop you. You're not a part of the actual security and stability of their mind. That part that's supposed to be between the person's partner is reserved only for the son and the mother. So their real identity, the part that you're seeing, is only you're just somebody that's meeting a need that they can't get between themselves. And let me just say, in some cases where the child cannot get a partner or the mother can't get a partner, and there's other things involved like drugs or alcohol, and the mother or the son are so starved of outside intimacy and things like that, this is when it really starts to get ugly and degenerates into physical sexual abuse inside the family, physical sexual incest. But for the most part, they save themselves from this through, be it masturbation or an outside person. But the outside person will never get past the covert emotional incest that's shared between the child and the parent, because it will produce it will undermine their identity and the structure of which they have created as a family, the name of the family, the identity of each other. So that's all I'm going to say for now. If you have stories of this, please, you can leave some short comments or something like that. But for now, just know, if you're not aware of, if you feel like you're in a relationship and there's something going that's just a little bit past the maternal dimension of a mother and a son or a father and a daughter, or all the different combinations and way in which this can take place, you need to learn about covert emotional incest before you start to fall apart and weaken as a person, because that's what it wants you to do. It wants you to know it's there, but it also wants to keep you there. and you become just a tag on to the primary relationship, which is between the parent and the child. And many people have been severely, permanently, emotionally damaged by this. And it's a very serious problem throughout the world. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Thank you for joining me, and bye for now.